How do we define experience? How much do we count a decade of coaching experience when it all comes in one league? And what if that league is perceived to be a second-tier league among European competition? Or is the ability to prepare, motivate, and strategize for a club universal that works at any level? These are the questions that clubs are going to have to ask themselves soon about Christian Ilzer as they consider him for their coaching vacancies, and they're going to after what he's achieved in Austria. But before we go figuring out if he's right for your club, we have to ask the question, who is Christian Ilzer? We've seen a run on young coaches lately whose playing careers were less than impressive, but honestly that shouldn't be all that surprising. After all, what's the old adage? Those who can't do, teach? And more importantly, those who can't do had to learn to get by with less physical gifts than their more athletically inclined counterparts, and that typically translates quite well into coaching. And that's the story of Christian Ilzer, who already has a decade of experience at Strum Graz, despite just entering his bald coaching phase of his career. So we're going to talk about who Christian Ilzer is and whether or not he may be right for your club in the future. But before we do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel. Get down in that comment section. Do you like what he's doing? Would you like to see him heading up your club sometime in the future? Get in that comment section. Let me know what you think and who your club is. You can also leave comments on Twitter at PitchsidePub and check out the website pitchsidepub.com. Christian Ilzer enters his 5th season at Strum Graz in the Austrian Bundesliga, despite only being 46 years old, and more impressively, it's already his 4th head coaching stop, thanks to a coaching career that started very early after blowing out his knee at the age of 17. Austrian-born, Ilzer has only played and coached in his native homeland, a fact that may have been held against him in recent coaching searches, and almost certainly will be in the future. Not that there's anything wrong with Austrian football, but when you only have one frame of reference for your entire level of experience, it can be held against you, and when that level is considered a second tier among European football, that can be an extra strike against you. But is that fair? Or more importantly, is it smart? Ilzer does have a wide range of experience within his Austrian bubble, and he's had success follow him closely everywhere that he's gone. His first head coaching job came in 2017 at 3rd Division TSV Hartberg, where he immediately led them to a promotion. That success earned him the same role at Wolfsberger, where he led his squad to a 3rd place finish in the Austrian Bundesliga and a berth in the Europa League. Those back-to-back successes kept the suitors coming, so Ilzer jumped to Austria Wien for the 1920 season, and despite an unremarkable but adequate performance, he was once again sought after in the summer. Now, 3 one-and-done coaching stints in as many years would be concerning if that's where our story ended, but in the summer of 2020 he found a more permanent home with Strum Graz, and almost a half-decade later that's where we find him today. Ilzer's time at Strum Graz has been nothing short of trajectory-altering. Over the past 3 seasons, he's led the club to 2 second-place finishes and then culminated that progress with an Austrian Bundesliga title this past year, dethroning the mighty RB Salzburg and their decade-long run of energy drink-fueled dominance. It's getting over that final hump to win the league and, of course, the Champions League experience that accompanies it that helps Ilzer stand out from the rest. But of course, the question remains, how will his coaching ability and tactics work outside of Austria? Like so many Austrian and German coaches, Ilzer's tactics revolve around a counter-pressing strategy and then a direct approach on offense once possession is regained. But unlike many of his counterparts, Ilzer's tactics are more disciplined and tactically secure. Ilzer has preferred a midfield diamond in the center of a 4-4-2 setup for years, dating back to before his time at Strum Graz. He does vary this setup at times depending on personnel or opponent, but usually to similar variations that load the midfield, like a 4-4-2 with a double pivot or a 4-3-1-2. There are 2 common denominators in all of Ilzer's formations, however. One is a packed midfield, and 2 is a dual striker attack. His dual attacker approach doesn't see the strikers linked together in a flat front, but rather they use constant motion and depth to create space. That space makes them able recipients of passes from both the well-spaced, disciplined, and stretched midfield, or from the attacking fullbacks on which Ilzer's system is heavily reliant. The fullbacks attack by flanking wide, with the wider midfielders in the diamond pressing forward in the space where the inverted wingers would operate if Ilzer were to play with any. The counter-pressing strategy sets up a direct approach whereby either midfielders or the fullbacks send long passes ahead to one or both of the streaking strikers. The strikers must have pace, and Ilzer's team must be stocked with players of all positions unafraid to send long passes forward. Those opportunities for long progressive passes are often the result of the high press Ilzer employs, though he doesn't have his squads deploy it with the same reckless abandon as many of his Durchschusserei counterparts. Instead, Ilzer relies on his crowded midfield to push opposing attackers wide or to free opponents to go long over the top of his defensive structure. He's not afraid to allow his opponents to have possession, but he's also not looking to sit deep the whole game and only counterattack either. Instead, he preaches discipline and trapping. The midfielders force opponents wide, and the fullbacks come to meet them as the diamond shifts over, applying pressure and using the sideline to their advantage. This approach does leave them susceptible to aggressive switching of the fields, but that's a battle Ilzer is willing to fight in exchange for the amount of turnovers his teams are able to cause. Ilzer's style of play requires versatile midfield depth, pacey two-way fullbacks, and enough striker depth to be able to play two at a time and still rotate players in. Now, not every club is going to be able to accommodate that, but the one who's willing to embrace Ilzer's style could see dividends pay off big time. Ilzer is not the type of manager that makes it easy on his players. His tactics require discipline, and he instills it in his team from day one. He's big on drilling players physically, tactically, and strategically, and he puts extra emphasis on defensive discipline for all players. Ilzer believes in mental training as well. He has on multiple stops employed a mental coach on his support staff, and he likes to put his players in challenging scenarios in training to see how they react. This type of attention to detail has made Ilzer quite capable at developing young players, and he's not afraid to play his youth. In fact, Strum Graz has developed a history of selling young strikers to bigger clubs for a handsome profit, which has played a role in giving Ilzer the players he needs to continue to move the club forward. Ilzer is known for his meticulous approach. He isn't a players manager who's going to make everyone comfortable. In fact, he believes they grow when they are uncomfortable. This may not be for every player, but that's okay with Ilzer. He's more interested in getting the right players. There isn't a lot of heat on Ilzer yet from other clubs, but that exposure is sure to grow now that Strum Graz is in the Champions League. Any sort of success there, especially if they manage to get out of the group stage, will raise his profile dramatically and make him a top target for clubs all over Europe. Even without that, he should be getting more attention. Since joining Strum Graz, his only real links to other clubs have been with Nottingham Forest in 2021 when they were still in the Championship, and some interest from Sunderland last summer. The English Championship wouldn't be a bad landing spot for Ilzer's next job, as a jump all the way to the Premier League could come with some inherent risks coming all the way from Austria. But there's an entire other Bundesliga in Germany that could make for a great landing spot. Could he be in the running to replace Xabi Alonso when he inevitably moves on from Bayer Leverkusen? Or could he land with one of the other upper mid-table Bundesliga teams that compete annually for the Bundesliga's Champions League spots? This is pure speculation, of course, but you can see the type of club that Ilzer could move to next. Now that he's had experience in Europe's top competition and remains at the helm of a club who should return to Europe annually, there's little incentive for him to leave until the right opportunity comes along to tempt him. The Bundesliga has plenty of opportunities that can achieve that, and while other leagues do as well, the language barrier wouldn't be nearly as great in other countries. That makes a move to one of the larger Bundesliga clubs a natural progression in his managerial journey. But the English Championship has come calling before and easily could again. Now, would he be interested in going to a club that has no chance to play in Europe? That remains to be seen. I could also see a mid-table Premier League club taking a chance on him if he does have some sustained Champions League success this year. Regardless of where he ends up, whoever hires Christian Ilzer will be getting a dedicated, detailed, determined manager who manages with conviction to his preferred style of play. The bigger the club that reaches for Ilzer when he inevitably leaves Strum Graz, the more questions there will be. But that's just more opportunity for fans to be pleasantly surprised by a manager they didn't know who brings a unique style of football and preparation to everything that he does. But what do you think? Would you like to see your club go after Christian Ilzer? Is what he's done with Strum Graz enough, or do you need to see a deep run in this year's Champions League to prove that he's ready for a bigger step? Get down in that comment section, let me know what you think, and if you'd like to see him at your club, you can also leave some comments on Twitter at PitchsidePub. While you're at it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel, and check out the website pitchsidepub.com. Thanks as always for joining us here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub.